prefabrication and industrialization is a cornerstone of Infinite project, and to do so, the digitalization take a high role on this because it can really transform the building renovation and construction sector in general.
And how the digitalization process enters the whole approach?
It's the first step of the process and an important phase of all process because with the digitalization we had a lot of surveys in the building, in the existing building, so structural, energy, geometrical surveys. And with these measurements, laser scanners, drones, we did a point cloud and a BIM model to foresee and to design the perfect prefabricated facade for this building. And we had a lot of energy simulation of the buildings with fluid dynamic for the ventilation system and all the technologies, the radiation in the facades for the PV and etc.
So the presence of this digital data makes the process easier. And what can you really do once you have the building information modeling ready?
Basically, within Infinite, we built up this BIM platform. So it's a BIM platform that you can use for several activities. First, of course, you have all the geometrical dimension, and then you can transfer this information to the manufacturer, so the factory, to produce effectively the prefabricated modules on all the kits. Then, beside this, we can also use the data collected in this BIM platform to perform specific analysis via a set of plugins. So we have the plugins of life cycle costing, life cycle assessment, the installation plugin, the energy performance plugin, and so on.
So if I understood correctly, this approach allows for a higher quality of the construction process, less material waste, and less disturbance and time on site. But where did you already apply this approach?
For example, we did this process in the Italian demo in Greve Chianti, close to Florence, and we had installed these systems, and we studied all the process. So in the Italian demo, we had a huge example of this process of industrialized facade, and we are talking about a two-story building, a multifamily building with 4 apartments, and we had the production off-site of the facade with all-in-one technologies in this facade. We installed the air ducts and the ventilation units in the prefabricated balconies. And we installed all the substructure of the BEAST, the solar thermal technology, the BIPV, the photovoltaic, and we had the production of the facades and the roof. So everything off-site, and the installations during 2 weeks. One for the roof and one for the facade with all the technologies, with the tenants inside of the apartments.
So windows were already included in the
Yes,
facade.
windows and technologies, air ducts, ventilation unit, PV, solar thermal, every technology is for the Infinite project.
So, and which were the main difficulties and challenges that you had during the process?
So one of the big challenge in the Italian demo was the ventilation system and the integration of the ventilation unit. So we had to integrate the ventilation unit in the prefabricated balcony, so outside, and we had to guarantee the performance of this machine with all the ducts, air ducts inside the prefabricated panels. So the connection between the air ducts, between different prefabricated panels, and guarantee the air tightness also of the system. And all the energy simulations and the tests in the laboratory were to study this performance.
This integration. Let's say that you need to think about that you have all these ducts embedded in the facade, and you need to really guarantee the performance of it. So, for instance, the manufacturer, at the end of the process, they just start a commissioning phase, putting pressure on the system in order to avoid any air leakages.
So, and did you succeed replicating the process in other buildings around Europe?
Yes, actually, within Infinite Project, we have other two demos, one in France and one in Slovenia. And for instance, in the French demo, we install a prefabricated industrialized envelope kit with BIPV to test the BIPV in different climate. And then in the Slovenian demo, we act a very peculiar transformation, a renovation, because we act both on the existing building and adding a new floor. So what means adding a new floor? Of course, with this approach, with the prefabricated elements, means having a higher volume of the building that you can sell the extra apartment you are building for new, and with the revenue you can pay the whole renovation. Specifically, in the Slovenian demo, we apply the Energy Fresh Air kit, so the ventilation machine with all the ducts embedded, and then a small portion of green kit. And then in the south facade, both of the existing and the upper floor is all covered by the IPV kit to allow to having less consumption of the overall renovation.
Okay. So if I understood correctly, applying the process to the real buildings allows for having the technology tested in a real environment, and together with that, you can reach measured data which can then be used to replicate the whole approach in future in other buildings.
Yeah, not only for the real demo, but also all the phases of the design, energy simulation, and the test in the laboratories. It's so important for this for the result of the project, because we can stress all the technologies and test all the technologies in different climate situation, temperatures, humidity, risk of condensations. So it's important.
It's crucial, yeah. So, and which are the lessons learned within the Infinite project?
So the main lesson learned is the importance of having like a collaboration across disciplines to develop robust solution, and then engaging all the stakeholders from the design phase to the end of life. So also including, for example, the tenants, the owner, and all the stakeholders in the value chain.
Yeah, so it's very interesting. And which are the next steps, and maybe which are the barriers to the general application of the approach?
So the next step is to really boost the replication potential of this industrialized prefabricated envelope system all around Europe in order to decarbonize and meet the renovation rate set from the EU Commission.